What's up, my people? This is ShowBizz the Dope. All right, man, look. Shawn Porter versus Ugas. Was Ugas robbed last night? I didn't make a video last night because I wanted to sleep on it, okay? I didn't want to make an immediate reaction to it. I wanted to put the emotions aside, make sure I'm thinking about this correctly, okay? And this is what I came up with. First, I want to say, Shawn Porter, kudos to you for taking the fight. Like I said before, I knew Ugas against Shawn Porter was going to be a great fight. In my opinion, Ugas is as good as the rest of them. Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman, the rest of those guys. Shawn Porter, obviously, okay, because the split decision fight last night, and it was very close. All right, so he took Ugas. Ugas is as good as the rest of them. It was high risk, low reward because not a lot of people know Ugas, okay? So I have to give Shawn Porter the credit for that. And for us as fans, we are quick to call people duckers, okay? But in this fight, more than 60% of my show business partners weren't interested, okay? They were more of my show business partners were interested in the bigger fight, a fight with Errol Spence. But we can't burn the candle from both ends. And I say that before. We can't complain about a fighter only fighting the big fights and then call him a ducker for avoiding fights of people who are not as big as far as popularity, but dangerous, okay? So we can't say both. And when he does take on one of those fighters, we say, oh, we don't care about it. It's not popular. We can't have both, all right? So kudos to Shawn Porter for taking one of those fights that most champions would avoid, okay? So he took the fight. Kudos to him. The second thing I want to say, it was a close fight. It was a close fight, in my opinion. I think Shawn Porter fought a very excellent fight. I think he showed a lot of speed and explosiveness, the ability to bounce back and forth. I really like that wrinkle to his game. And that's another thing. I can't complain about him playing football in the ring, and then when he changed his style to being more of a boxer, I have a problem with that. I can't be a hypocrite like that. So I definitely like that he showed that element to his game, and he's done this for the second fight now, and he looked good. He looked good. As for Ugas, he looked as good as I expected him to look. Okay, he was extremely comfortable in the ring. If there was any of them, any of the two that were actually uncomfortable, it would be Shawn Porter. He was more uncomfortable to me than Ugas, okay? But the fight to me was extremely close. And Shawn Porter showed the heart of a champion. When things got tough, when he was hit solid, he wanted a quick return, okay? With that said, was he robbed? This is how I feel about robberies. If the fight is extremely close, I usually, that's the key word, I usually say it's not a robbery. Fights like Lara and Paul Williams, that's a robbery. It was clear that Lara won that fight, and it was clear that he was robbed, okay? He won that fight clearly, and they gave it to Paul Williams, okay? That is a robbery. But when the fight is extremely close, like Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, I don't call those robberies, okay? With that said, like I said, usually, in this situation, what was Ugas robbed of? Was he robbed of the victory? How I would like to approach that is I think that debate, okay, is just, you have to look at rounds 1 through 12, and that leaves too much room for something to not be resolved, okay? So I'm not going to look at, was he robbed of the victory? I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do, though, is say, was he robbed of the knockdown in the 12th round? Was he robbed of the knockdown? That's my question. And I'm going to say, yes, he was robbed of the knockdown, all right? And this is why. The definition of a knockdown is when an opponent's body, any part of his body outside of his feet, touches the canvas following getting hit, Okay, so if he gets hit and any part of his body touch the canvas outside of his feet, that is considered a knockdown. Ugas clearly hit him on the side of the head, around the ear, above the ear, behind the ear, and Shawn Porter hit the deck. Now, the referee called it a slip. Why? Because he said it was wet in the corner, and to him, it was obvious that Shawn Porter slipped. But two things with that. One, when a fighter get hit, I've seen their feet go from under them without it being a slip. That happens when your equilibrium is knocked off and you fall, okay? Your legs go. So for the ref to know the difference between why he fell and say, okay, that was a slip opposed to his legs just, him just being knocked off balance and being awkward, that's one heck of an eye. I'll say that. But I'll say this, though. If he did slip, there is something called a balance shot. There's been many times when a fighter was off balance and they were punched while off balance and fell. That's a knockdown, okay? So if you want to say that there was water in the corner and he was off balance and got hit on the side of the head, he fell, that is a knockdown. If it wasn't for the punch, more than likely he wouldn't have fell. He didn't fall all fight in that corner, okay? So more than likely he wouldn't have fell if it wasn't for that punch, all right? So by definition of a knockdown, Shawn Porter was knocked down by Ugas. If you think he was knocked down because he was off balance, it's still a knockdown. If you think he was rocked or you think it was a flash knockdown, it was a knockdown. In my opinion, Ugas was robbed of the knockdown. Now, we can go further and see how do I feel about if he was robbed of the fight. I thought it was extremely close. Pretty much a draw until the 10th and 11th round. Shawn Porter started taking the fight. So I had Shawn Porter up a round going into the 12th, okay? I think I had Shawn Porter behind by a round and in round 9. And 10 and 11 in the championship round, Shawn Porter took it, in my opinion, so he was up a round. Then Ugas knocked him down. In my opinion, though, that's 2 points. See, once you remove the knockdown, okay, if you say, once you cancel the knockdown out, in my opinion, it's a draw. But I think he was robbed of the knockdown. So Ugas, in my opinion, should have gotten a 2-point round right there, giving him the nod. Giving Ugas the nod in the fight by 1 point. That's my opinion. Now, I think it was a close fight. I think Shawn Porter put up a good fight. So did Ugas. I think who was more uncomfortable in the fight was Shawn Porter. But at the end of the day, Ugas was robbed, and he was robbed of his knockdown, making it overall, in my opinion, that cost him the fight because he did win the 12th round, okay? So the scorecards of 117, 112 and stuff like that, okay, that is fugazi, but it doesn't really matter. A split decision is a split decision. So it was a close fight. What I didn't like is the post-fight when Shawn Porter said, yeah, no, I'm done. I'm not going to fight him again. That seems a little bizarre. Okay, because that door is left open for Ugas, and it's left open for many of the fans here. And people who didn't know Ugas, thank you very much, Shawn Porter, for shining a light on him. But the fans are done with Ugas, and they're not done with that fight. That fight is controversial. So to say, nah, man, I talk to my team. Just no, I'm not looking for that fight to rematch him. I think that showed a lack of competitive warrior spirit to me a bit. Okay, but that's cool. He is calling out Errol Spence. That's what the people want. And if Errol Spence get by Mikey Garcia next weekend, I'll definitely be looking for, the lead up to that fight and that fight actually happening. But in my opinion, Ugas, he was robbed of the knockdown. And I would love to see what you guys think about that. Please comment below if he was robbed of the knockdown or not. Like I said, debating if he was robbed of the fight is let's shrink it before we look at a bigger picture. Let's shrink it down and focus on if he was robbed of the knockdown or not. Because if he was robbed of the knockdown, now it's up to you to think if Shawn Porter was winning by so many rounds that the knockdown didn't matter. ShowBizz the dope. He was robbed of the knockdown, man. I'm out.